Hi there and welcome to Coachmen Trailer Sales. Today I'll be walking you through your 2024 Chaparral 235Rk. We are just going to start off the back of the unit. If you notice up top, you're pre-mounted and pre-wired for an observation camera. If you'd like to get set up with that, just get into contact with the parts department. They'd be more than happy to help you out. It's going to be a great little addition to your camper. It's going to allow you to observe behind you while you're driving, and then of course while you're backing up, you'll be able to see what's coming up behind you without having to get somebody out to guide you around. Also located at the back is going to be your range hood vent. You're just always going to want to make sure that you do unclip these vent whenever you get your campsite, unclipping the vent, allowing it to exit air, and then whenever you're traveling, snapping it back into place, especially with it being at the back of the unit. It's going to stop any excess dust from getting sucked inside. And then you got your 2-inch receiver right down below. Just keep it in mind, you do got some weight restrictions here, so you're never going to want to exceed any of that. Now if you come around to the driver's side, pulling the bumper cap, you do get access from both sides. It's going to be where your sewer hose is located, not fully extended. It is about 15 feet long. We're just taking note of those 2 ears there. It's the same 2 ears your sewer hose is going to have. Your sewer outlet is going to have. Now for this unit here, you do have electric rear stabilizer jacks, and then of course the front is going to be electric as well. We'll go over that once we get there. But they work pretty simple. You hit the extend button. These feet are going to start making their way down to the ground. Once they contact the ground, just allowing them to snug up a little bit. And once you hear the motors wind up, that's when you know they're fully extended. So there you go. Now with both feet on the ground, you heard that motor wind up that little bit, so you're fully stabilized. Just a couple notes for these guys. They are stabilizing jacks. They aren't leveling jacks. If you try and use them to level the trailer, there is a risk that you're going to run of bending them. Again, it can get pretty costly pretty quick. It's going to be something you're going to want to avoid. And then to retract them, you hold the button, they retract the way up. Now sometimes these feet can come up or down at different times. If they start doing that, don't panic, just allow them to do their thing. It's an open gear system, so sometimes one might go down faster than the other. Now that they're sucked up down at the bottom and you hear the motor wind up again, you're all inside now. The sewer cap, taking that and twisting that off, that's going to be where you get to your first liquid waste tank. It's going to be your galley tank. Pulling that lever, that's going to be how you drain that. Now if we come over here, you'll notice a drain outlet sticker coming in between these two tires. Look straight back there. You're going to see this little blue tube sticking down below the floor. That is going to be how you drain your fresh tank. That's where your water pump draws from. Now coming over here, you get your standard 50 amp twist lock connection. Take that, pull that out, you get that silver strip. Lines up with the silver strip on this side. Line those two guys up, push it firmly into place. 8th turn to lock it in, and then you got that threaded collar to really lock it down. If you follow that cord back, you're going to come to your standard 50 amp plug-in. Now a lot of campsites, especially here in Manitoba, may not have 50 amp service, so that's why we do include this 30 amp dog bone adapter. Keep it in mind whenever you are using this dog bone adapter. If you were to have 2 ACs installed, this unit does only come with 1 installed. It would be an option to get a second one installed. You're pre-wired for it. I'll go over a little bit more about that once we do get inside. You would need that 50 amp service to run both at the same time. On a 30 amp service, it's going to be plenty for the way it sits right now. Now, if you have the unit at home or your campsite only had 50 amp service, we do also include that 15 amp park adapter, but whenever you are using that, you're going down to less power, you're not gonna be able to run your air conditioner. It realistically will just be to run your fridge and your lights. Now, coming more up front, you get your last sewer exit. It's gonna work the same way as the back one, except this is gonna be the one you're gonna wanna empty first, and you'll always wanna empty your black tank first. That's gonna be your dirtiest water filled from your toilets. Then you can come behind that with your gray tank, which is typically going to be a little cleaner water filled from your sinks and your showers. Your last sewer drain at the back there, that's going to be one you want to drain last. The reason I say that is just because, again, you're going to want to keep that sewer hose that little bit cleaner. Get your exterior shower located here. Got your city water connection, so if you're at a site with service, you can thread a garden hose in there, turn it on. It's going to pressurize all those lines without the needing to run your water pump. And then of course right next to that, it looks exactly the same, but it is a black tank flush, and that's very important. You do read the warning signs. Whenever you're using the black tank flush, you're going to want to make sure you have your sewer hose connected and your black tank valve open. The reason being, if you're pushing pressure inside of that tank and that pressure has nowhere to go, you run the risk of that tank expanding to the point of cracking So again, something you're gonna want to avoid. It's always a good idea to use this. It's gonna help keep that tank clean. Doing it at least every two uses is a good idea. It's gonna help with odor and of course just breaking down those solids. Opening up this door gives you access into your first storage compartment. You got a light switch on the wall here to turn on the front. This is to turn on those front lights, front accent lights to spice up your campsite a little bit. And then of course you get a little night light here, another one on the other side. Comes with a water hose. Here's that 15 amp park adapter I was telling you about. You're probably noticing this little blue tube here. This is for your winterize override port. Stick it on there, thread it in, stick it into your jug of antifreeze. And then of course you got all these different valves here. Now, at least it gives you a little legislative as to how to use them. So with it in the way they are now, that's system use. So if you're gonna be drawing off your water pump from your fresh tank, that's how you're gonna wanna have those. If you want to fill your fresh tank, you're gonna turn that one up, turn this one to that side. Now, if you were to hook up water to your city connection, you're gonna be filling up your fresh tank. If you want it to be in city mode or AKA winterize mode, you're gonna leave both of these up. At that point, you either need to hook up this tube, turn on your water pump to winterize, or just hook up to your city water connection and start pressurizing those lines. Of course, cable satellite hookups all here. Turn off that light before we close up the compartment. Right here, you're gonna have your first of two propane tanks. We're gonna turn the one on the other side. But that is where you get the second one here, coming around to the front, standard front. Underneath here, you get your landing leg control, extend, retract. Little docking light in case you're ever docking at night, you can turn that on. Opening up these hinges, you can lift that guy up. The battery box is located to the right there, and that's where you would house that battery. Then you get the big storage space, but whenever you're using the storage, just of course being mindful of all that wiring there. You're gonna want to avoid stacking too much stuff inside there. It's also just adding extra hitch weight. Again, another thing you're gonna want to avoid. Try and keep it as light as you can up front. Now, that rule does go for the storage all throughout this unit. Whenever you're inside, you're gonna see drains, water lines, wiring. You're gonna want to avoid it. Pile what you can in there, but of course, just keeping in mind you're not gonna want to affect any of that other stuff. Opening up this side, this is where you get to your other propane tank. Pretty much like any standard barbecue, you gotta reach your hand in there, find the valve, counterclockwise like any standard barbecue, nice and slowly to open up the flow of propane to the unit. Side here is just the other side of that storage compartment, and you're gonna have a little slide out manual override in case your slide out were to fail for whatever reason. Get your hot water service port. Now this is a tankless system, so we're gonna go over some notes to help you later on down the road. If you've had a camper before and you did the winterization yourself, you probably remember having a tanked water heater, in which case there's bypass valves behind it because you didn't want antifreeze entering that system. Now this system is the complete opposite. You do want to run antifreeze through it. Of course, just running the switch off because you don't want to be heating it as you're running it through. And then once you're done the winterization process completely, this little brass plug here, this piece comes off like this. This front fascia will pop right out. And then you can remove that brass plug, leave it out for the duration of winter, so that way, once that antifreeze starts expanding during our extremely cold winter months, it doesn't crack inside those thin copper coils. It's gonna allow itself to exit. Other than that though, just make sure if you have no power at your thermostat inside, make sure you got the switch on and there's a little fuse here. You can also check in case you're having issues with power. Sorry, sometimes it take a couple tries to get this into place. And just lock that in, and just make sure you got your rubber gasket in place properly. That way you're not heating and melting it. Furnace exhaust, whenever your furnace is on, this will be blowing out hot air, so just be mindful of that. And now for the best part, to take a step on inside, you're just going to take that assist handle, push it up, hold it 90 degrees, it's going to lock in place. That will allow you to open up your door. You do have to have your door open all the way to get your stairs down. Pull on that latch, pull the stairs towards you, they're going to start coming down. You've got adjustable camped feet, so you can have nice and level stairs. Run these down. When you have these down, you're going to want to make sure that this kind of sits as close as you can get to the bottom of the frame as possible, so that way you're not going to get any binding or heat scraping when you're closing the door. Once you take a step on inside, first thing you notice on the right is your fire extinguisher, which is pretty much just like home. Unclip, pull the pin, and shoot. Now once you're inside, have a look around. But your monitor panel system is right over here. You got your entry lights, turning that on. Turns on these main living space lights so that you can see what you're doing, especially in case you got here at night. And then you have your awning light, which is going to turn on a little awning LED outside. Water pump switch turns on your water pump, pressurizes all those lines. So again, it's a good idea. Maybe just do a quick check. Make sure all your taps are off and everything's good to go. Exterior lights, that's again going to turn on some more accent lighting outside. And then you have some tank heaters here. That's for extended camping season. But just keeping in mind, our Manitoba winters are much too cold for that to be adequate. They're essentially just oil pan heaters stuck onto the bottom of your tanks to try and keep things warm. Realistically, if you're camping below -0, you run the risk of things freezing. So just make sure you do understand that before you go and do that. So that way you don't have any issues later down the road. Awning control. If you hit awning extend, the awning's going to start making its way out. Now, of course, always trying to be mindful and watch it. Make sure it's going nice and even, and it's not going to run into anything. Now, unfortunately, you have to make sure you get the awning all the way out. Know that awning is all the way out. Once you see the back of the flat plate, sometimes that flat plate stuck, so you might just have to retract it a couple feet and then roll it back out again for it to come down. Now, if it were to start raining, take any arm, front or rear, pull down at the center. It's going to change the position of the awning head, allowing water to now run off. Now, if you like that angle better, because it's going to allow for more shade underneath, you can do the same thing with the front arm. Just make sure that you do push them both back to straight. And before you bring in your awning, that way you don't run the risk of bending them. And then, always, of course, whenever you have your awning out, always keep in the back of your mind, you're going to want to keep an eye on the wind speeds. Once the winds start picking up, this acts exactly like a wind sail. And you can rip your fabric or rip your arms or bend your arms very easily. It gets pretty costly pretty quick. It's going to be something you want to avoid. So again, just do that. Now, let's say it was raining, everything's fine and dandy, everybody's hanging outside, but the storm gets worse, winds pick up, so you want to make sure you bring that awning in, but you're worried because it's wet. It's not a big deal. Just make sure at your next earliest convenience that you do remember to roll the awning back out. That way you're not accelerating the growth of mold or mildew, and retracting it is as simple as what I'm doing right now. Hold the retract button. The awning's going to start rolling its way in. Once the arms contact the side of the trailer, the motors will automatically cut out. Now we got our slide out switch. Before you ever run your slide out, it's going to be always a good idea, especially when you have such great access like you do now. Make sure you just do a quick visual check on the inside. Make sure there's nothing that's shifted during travel that's going to run in between your slide out and the wall. Quick visual check, and then of course on the outside, making sure you have adequate room for that slide to go all the way out. And then to get the slide out, you just push and hold the out button. The slide's going to start making its way out. Once the slide is fully extended, you're going to hear the motors wind up and click. Whenever you are running the slide out, always trying to be visual, making sure it's going out nice and even. It's always a good idea too to run full, either run that on it, the slide out all the way out or all the way in whenever you can, because it's the easiest on the gear system and the motors. Obviously, we know that's not always possible, so again, just try and do that when you can. Now, once you're on, your slide out is all the way out. It's always a good idea to just run your hand behind the slide bolster here. Make sure that you can feel that rubber seal against the wall. That way you're sealing out any sort of water that could come in. Now, last but not least for this panel is going to be the monitor panel. Pushing the button tells you the corresponding level. It's pretty much self-explanatory. Now we can take a step on. We'll start at the front in the bedroom. Door to open up. Light switch is on the right. Smoke detector up top. Now you're going to notice you got a vent lid here. you're gonna notice air conditioning circuit. So this is where you're prepped for that second air conditioner I was telling you about. If you'd like to get set up with that, again, just contact your parts department. They would be more than happy to help you out. But let's say you didn't want the AC installed, but when you go to open this up, you notice, and this is gonna go for the same thing in the bathroom, you do open up straight into the atmosphere. Now, of course, if it starts raining, it's gonna get wet inside of here. And if you forgot this open while traveling, there is the risk that it could break. If you do get a max air cover, it goes over top of this. We sell them here at the store. Again, our parts department would be happy to put together a quote for you. It's essentially a cover that'll go over top of here. It's going to stop water from getting in case it were to rain and you forgot it open. And if you're traveling, it's not going to cause any damage. It's also going to protect you a little bit more against hail. It's going to be a great addition. Again, just contact your parts department. They'd be more than happy to help you out. Other than that, inside this bedroom, you got a TV backer on this wall here in case you were to want to mount a TV. You got 2 plugs, coax outlet. All the blinds in the unit are going to work the same way. They just kind of sit where you leave them. One quick pull will allow them to retract back up. Tons of storage all throughout here. And now a very important note about this sliding door. Notice this little strap. It's very important. You always strap this before travel. Otherwise, with it off, it allows it to slide back and forth freely, which is probably going to cause some damage. And I know it does magnetize a little bit here, but it's not really adequate. If you had a hard enough turn, it could pop off. And again, it could cause some damage. So it's always a good idea to just use the strap, lock it in. And once you get to your campsite, you can unlock it. One little cool feature that I found, I've gone through lots of these trailers and I've never found one with this much storage underneath the bed. Pick it up, it's on its own gas struts. You got some drawer space, some cubby space, tons of other space for blankets or whatever else. Utilize it as you can. On the left, on the driver's side wall, you're gonna notice that is the fire exit for up here. You got that little red tab. Pull on that, screen's gonna pop right out of the way. At that point, you can take this hand out, push it out, hop on out of the unit. But keep in mind, of course, of how high up you are. It's gonna be a good idea to go out feet first, but if there is a fire, just try and get out as quick as possible. That's gonna be it for the bedroom. Now we got the bathroom. Hallway light is right here. Turn that on. Taking a step on into the bathroom. Light switches on the right. Again, this is gonna be another one of those sliding doors. Very important you have that trowel strap on there. Some door hooks, another vent lid, of course, on top here. And then you have your shower. These shower doors are glass. Again, another travel strap you're gonna have to try and remember to do. And this one especially, because these are glass, so it's not going to take much to break them. We've had them break in the past. It's never good. And again, it just gets costly, so just make sure you do latch them up. That way you're not running the risk of anything smashing. Toilet, sink, main GFI plug. 90% of the plugs are going to be ran through GFI. If you ever have an outlet that doesn't work, it's always the best to come here, hit that reset button, and just make sure the system isn't tripped. Sometimes you can trip for the oddest reason, so just double check it isn't tripped. And then on the wall there, you got your thermostat for your water heater. Power button to turn it on and off. You go between Celsius and Fahrenheit with the press of a button. And you can also go up or down to change your set temperature. Now you're probably wondering, oh, well, what temperature do I like? So the best way to use this system, you're gonna have to experiment a little. Find the temperature that you like best with only using the hot. These systems don't like having the blend there with the cold. It's not the end of the world if you do use it, but you're gonna get the best water flow and temperature if you set this to the exact temperature that you like while just having the hot on. And now back into the main living space. But before we get there, on the wall, you got your thermostat. You're gonna see it says zone 1. The reason it says that is this thermostat, you're able to have a zone 2. And that would be if you were to get that second air conditioner installed. Power button to turn it on. It's going to take you to your last known setting, which in this case is fan. You could hit the fan button to change between different speeds. You got 1 through 3. 3 is going to be the fastest setting. And now that's just air moving around with the air conditioner. No heating or cooling involved. And whenever you're using the fan or the air conditioner, you get 2 different options. You can leave these levers closed, in which case it'll move its air throughout the unit completely using the ceiling ducting, or you can open them up in what we call a clip dump. It'll dump all its air into the main living space. You're probably asking, why would I want to do that? Well, when you first get to your campsite, it's probably going to be pretty hot inside of here, so it's always going to be a good idea to cool off this space first. and then closing this off, and then moving the air throughout. And the reason I'm telling you to do that is this right here. If you pull in these two tabs, that would allow you to pop that right out of place. You got that black screen there that does act as a filter, because this is where it intakes all its air. So if you cool off this space first, it just makes it that much easier to push it throughout the rest of the unit. Back over to our thermostat. Back on track. You hit the mode button. It'll take you over to dry. That's just a dehumidifying mode. It's going to try and take as much moisture out of the air as possible. Go over to auto. Depending on what you have the room set to, will be depending on what it kicks in. So 72 degrees Fahrenheit in here right now. We have the thermostat set to 67, so it's going to have the air conditioner running, of course. If we were to go below 67, it would then kill the air conditioner and fire up the furnace. The furnace does run off propane, and it's its own unit. It only has 1 fan speed. But for this to work adequate whenever you're in auto, you have to hit that fan button, and you're going to see 1, you're going to see 2, and you're going to see 3. Now those settings are going to be on full time. That air conditioner fan is never going to kick off. Even once the furnace kicks in, you do have to make sure that you set the fan setting to auto. Hit the mode button one more time, you get over to cool. Again, you're going to want to make sure you leave that in auto. It's the most efficient setting too, so that you're not overrunning your air conditioner for no reason. And then from cool, sorry, that was the power button. Hit the mode button again, it'll bring you over to heat. And again, that's just going to fire up your furnace. Power button to turn it off. There's going to be a few different settings you can get into with it as well. I recommend looking into the owner's manual a little bit. You got your main fuse and breaker panel. Whenever breaker trips, it'll sit in the middle, so you just have to turn it off and then back on again to reset it. And because this unit is equipped with propane, you got your LP detector right here near the ground. If this guy ever starts going off, don't panic. Turn off the main supply of propane at the front of the unit and open up some windows and vents just to get some fresh oxygen inside of here. You're gonna notice you got a nice little breakfast bar over in this wall, on this wall here. You're gonna notice again, these chairs are loose. So making sure you do strap them up so that way they're locked in and they're not gonna go flying around while you're driving. Entertainment center, it's pretty much just like home, minus the fact that your sound bar is gonna have zone 1 and zone 2. Zone 1 will be your interior speakers, zone 2 will be your exterior speakers. Over here, nice little sectional. Again, you're gonna have some more accent lighting just on its own center push button. This couch can fold out into a bed. We just have to remove the cushions like so. Set them off to the side for a second. Grab it by the foot, pull it towards you. Then you can fold down your legs. Take that back cushion, flip it down. You could have another bed in case you were to have any extra guests that were coming to stay with you. Get it back in, it's just the total opposite. And then on this back wall here is going to be where the fire exit is. It's a little bit different than the one up top, but it's still pretty easy to use. Much like a bus, pull the handles, unlock them, and then that'll allow you to push the window right on out of place. It hasn't been used in a while, more than likely. And there you go. Sometimes they can get a little stuck, so again, if there's a fire, push on it as hard as you need. Back area, that's going to be your main kitchen. Tons of storage throughout, microwave. Now to your oven. There's going to be a few notes about the oven. I'm going to go over a few propane notes involving purging and stuff like that. Whenever you are running your oven, I always recommend rerunning your range hood. That way you're evacuating those propane fumes as you're making them. Whenever you first get to your campsite, if you've had your propane system off for a while, or if you've disconnected one of the bottles, it does allow air into the system. Once the air makes its way in, it does have to be purged out. Now, the quickest, easiest way to do that is by using your stove, because you get to decide how long you run the burners for and how many sequences it fires. If you go to try to fire up anything else that runs off propane, meaning your furnace, water heater, something like that, those will only try lighting themselves a couple times, and if they don't receive a flame, aka gas, by that time, it's going to throw a fault code at you. If you don't know what the fault code means, it could maybe throw a little bit of frustration into your weekend, which we do want to avoid. So again, just by using the stove to just quickly avoid that, come to your stove and just quickly fire it up. But whenever you are doing that, because it's a gas stove, you do have to be safe about it. So whenever you have any of these gas valves on, always making sure that you're hitting that sparker every few seconds. That way you don't have a buildup of gas and minor combustion, because if that happens and your face is nearby, there's probably a good chance you might lose some eyebrows or eyelashes, and that doesn't sound like fun. So just be safe whenever you are using it. Firing it up quickly, it's just as simple as that. Now you can turn everything off. The system should be purged for the most part, and you can go try firing up anything else. It's always a good idea though, if you do get a failed fire sequence, just to try it one more time, because again, it could just be a slight purging issue. And when it comes time to purging it out, sometimes the stove can take a few minutes to have gas. So again, it's just very important that you are using that igniter every few seconds so you don't have that buildup of gas. And when it comes time for lighting the oven, it does take a little bit longer just because the gas surface is so small for the pilot. Turn it over to the pilot option, push and hold the knob in, look down below, hitting that sparker every few seconds. And now you're seeing what I mean by make sure you do turn on the illumination knobs and the oven lights so you can see what you're doing. But again, eventually that oven would light. Once the pilot's able to light and hold its own, you'd be able to turn it up to your desired temperature and it would fire right on up. Now that is going to be it for this unit here. If you have any other questions, feel free to give us a call.